By now, many of you have seen this backdrop on almost every video that I produce. Besides being a huge fan of Star Wars, I chose it because I've always had a deep love and admiration for space. My fascination with space all began when I was in school, really beginning with this tragedy.
Challenger now heading downrange. The vehicle has exploded.
Now, unfortunately, over the past several decades, NASA and space travel in general has been getting less funding and investment over the years.
The space shuttle pulls into port for the last time. Its voyage at an end.
However, all that changed when NASA invited private companies and industry to help solve a growing problem. How can space travel be made cheaper? Part 1. The rebirth of an industry. So the global aerospace industry has really been focused on driving down the cost of space travel, and the leading organization in this effort is not any government or established corporation, but this particular California startup. After selling PayPal to eBay, Elon Musk wanted to do more than just retire or give away his money to charity. So in 2002, he founded SpaceX in an effort to figure out how to drive down the cost of space travel. Now, to do this, SpaceX makes two different products: rockets and spaceships. Rockets provide the power, and spaceships deliver the goods to outer space. You see, in typical rocket launches, part of the boosters are either burned up or too damaged to be reusable. And these boosters can be extremely expensive. And SpaceX actually got off to a good start, but then the global recession devastated the economy. In September 2008, the financial crisis was in its most critical stage. These companies that were supposed to ensure the stability of the financial market either collapsed or had to be taken over by stronger banks and the US government. It was in this world of financial disaster that SpaceX successfully launched the first privately funded liquid-fueled rocket into space.
3, 2, 1, 0. And lift off.
But on the other hand, NASA was struggling. To help pay for the losses of the banking industry, governments everywhere cut their budgets, including any investments and money going towards space programs. The biggest problem? These rockets are sunk costs. That is, they're designed to be burned up and never to be used again. So in order for space travel to be more commonplace, these rockets need to get cheaper. Part 2. The Falcon 9. So NASA created a program to coordinate the delivery of goods to the International Space Station by private companies. And after its successful launch in September 2008, NASA awarded SpaceX its first contract. So the company used this money to produce more efficient rocket boosters. It became the first privately funded company to send a spacecraft into orbit, dock with the International Space Station, and drop off some goods before returning back to Earth. But the problem is these rockets are still too expensive, and now SpaceX is getting close to solving that problem too. Just this month, the Falcon 9 launched the Dragon, a SpaceX space capsule, up into outer space carrying 5,000 pounds of food, experiments, and equipment to the International Space Station. Then the goal was to retrieve the Falcon 9 by having it gently touch down onto a barge off the coast of Florida. But unfortunately, the fins failed. They ran out of hydraulic fluid before landing. So the company is making another attempt in February, and my money is on SpaceX becoming the first company to successfully launch and reuse a space rocket, driving down the cost of travel. But if the cost comes down, the big question remains: what business models will help fund future space exploration? Basically, who's going to pay for a trip to Mars? Part 3. The network wars. Internet usage is going up, and traffic is really getting congested. Carriers are throttling and imposing data caps, basically trying to control the flow of data. Now, wireless spectrum is also becoming a scarce commodity as we look up the prices of these licenses going way up. And now the big debate is how the telecommunications industry is trying to control the flow of information by opposing net neutrality. So how will data flow in the internet of the future? How about a second internet, but in space? Elon Musk himself said, "I think this needs to be done, and I don't see anyone else doing it." If successful, this ambitious goal would accomplish two things. It would speed up the general flow of information on the internet, and it would deliver high-speed, low-cost internet services to people with poor internet access. Specifically, it would benefit long-distance internet traffic and people who live in sparsely populated areas. So how is SpaceX going to do this? Through a network of communication microsatellites that orbit the Earth. Current internet satellites orbit 22,000 miles above the Earth, making latency and speed a problem at that distance. But SpaceX microsatellites would orbit the Earth at about 750 miles above. The company just opened a new office in Seattle to hire the top engineering talent around the world. Elon went on to say, "We see this as a long-term revenue source for SpaceX to be able to fund a city in Mars. But SpaceX is going to need a lot more money." In the summer of 2007, NASA's final space shuttle landed, ending a 30-year program. But the prior year, NASA created a commercial program that initially invested in 5 American companies working on new vehicles that would bring 4 astronauts to the International Space Station by the end of 2017. And just 4 months ago, NASA narrowed the field down to 2 companies, Boeing's CST-100 and SpaceX's Dragon V2. Now, this contract will be worth billions to SpaceX, but it's just not enough money. Now, it just so happens that a certain internet company has been trying to figure out how to get more people online. As of today, we know that Google is preparing a $1 billion investment in the company. This will be an excellent way to bring low-cost internet to billions of people who are not online. So far, Google has been experimenting with high-altitude balloons and solar-powered drones. Now, besides hiring the best engineers and raising enough money, there are some potential problems. First, right now, SpaceX doesn't own the proper spectrum or have any satellites on hand. For now, the plan is to make the satellites itself. Also, the company's going to have to develop some ground-based antennas to receive the signals from the satellites. And as with all new markets, there's some competition. This guy used to work for Google on satellites, but recently left to start his own company. Worldview has the spectrum and right now more experience with satellites. As a matter of fact, 4 months ago, this company announced a similar plan to launch microsatellites to go live by 2018. When asked about this, Elon said, "We have a fundamental disagreement about the architecture. I think there should be 2 competing systems." So in this battle for the future of the internet, everything today is in its early stages. The future is uncertain, and some things will fail. But the successful will press on again and continue reaching for the stars. So thank you guys for watching this episode. It was really last minute. I was reading a lot of news coming out, and I wanted to put a video together and tie it into network wars and try to show all the things that are going on with increasing the capacity, because more and more as time goes on, we're realizing that we're going to need a lot more data, especially as the growth of the internet explodes into emerging markets and people who don't have internet access today. I'm actually still researching in the NVIDIA video. I'm sorry that I haven't put it out. I was expecting to have it done this week. It's going to be a comparison between AMD and NVIDIA, going over the history of the companies, where they succeeded and where they hope to go in the future. So please stay tuned for that. And as always, thank you guys for your feedback, your likes. It really helps me know what's working, what's not, and it helps other people discover the channel. So stay tuned. Thank you for subscribing as we continue to see how technology changes things around the world.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills